Welcome to another edition of I'm No Expert. It's me, Rob V, the guest MC, and today we're going to talk about boxing. Now, in the past 2 weekends, we've had two pretty important fights. We had Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas, which the outcome of that set up a potential mega fight that we can finally get Errol Spence Jr. versus T-Bud Crawford. Now, it happened at exactly the right time. Spence was supposed to fight Pacquiao. He had to pull out of the fight. Ugas stepped in, defeats Pacquiao, sends him to retirement. That sets up this fight that he just had last week with Errol Spence Jr. As game as Ugas was, he didn't really offer much of a challenge. He had some moments in the fight, but his level of skill is just not the same. Errol Spence is on a different level, and it showed. He eventually stopped Ugas in the 10th round. He battered and bruised him, and the ref had to step in and stop it. Ugas couldn't see out of his eye. It was becoming a massacre. No shame, nothing wrong with losing that fight. It just was a difference in class. And that happened at the perfect time because also recently we had T-Bud Crawford defeat Shawn Porter. Now, Shawn Porter has fought everybody in that division. Great champion, great fighter, but he lost to Spence Jr. back in 2019. That was before Spence had that accident where he crashed his Ferrari. And most recently, he lost to Terrence Crawford. Having fought both men, he seems to think that Crawford is the better of the two. But having been in the ring with both fighters, he says he gives a slight edge to Crawford. Now, this comes at the perfect time, and I say that because his contract with Top Rank is up. T-Bud Crawford he's essentially a free agent, so there should be no barriers in the way of making this fight happen. And realistically, it should happen before the end of 2022. Now, that fight will be huge, should be exciting, and we're all looking forward to that one. Anybody who knows boxing, the welterweight division, knows what a big deal this fight will be. The two top guys in their division going at it for supremacy. And hopefully, it's good enough to warrant a rematch. And maybe if we can get one of those classic boxing trilogies that we all love. Because when you get two evenly matched fighters in the ring, sometimes it takes about 3 fights to figure out who's really the best. Now, this past Saturday, you had a heavyweight clash. You had Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, fighting Dillian Whyte. Now, Dillian Whyte has been on the sidelines. He's been the WC mandatory for quite some time now, and he's been waiting. He's been begging for his fight, and he had to wait because you had Tyson Fury. He had to finish his obligation to fight Deontay Wilder for the 3rd time. Now, in this fight with Dillian Whyte, the Gypsy King, I don't want to say toyed with him, but he kind of did. It was a lot of kind of rough, mauling fight. The first few rounds, they were filling each other out, a lot of trickery, switching stances, switching to southpaw. Dillian Whyte did, and then Gypsy King came out. He switched to southpaw. There was a lot of little gamesmanship, but there was a lot of grappling and a lot of wrestling. It was kind of sloppy, a little bit ugly, but it kind of gave me the feeling that Tyson Fury was practicing for a Triller Triad hybrid rules dirty boxing fight, which would be the perfect venue for who I think his next opponent is going to be. So, as we all know, that Tyson Fury just landed a beautiful uppercut in the 6th round that just absolutely short-circuited Dillian Whyte, and he just dispatched of him, and the referee mercifully stepped in and stopped the fight because that uppercut was lightning fast, and he didn't know what hit him, and it was just a thing of beauty. And he was discombobulated and just could not function properly, and had the referee not stepped in, Fury would have just maybe put some permanent hurt on that guy. Ever since getting with Sugar Hill Stewart, he has become a destructive force in the heavyweight division. He's still got all the nice, fancy, cutesy moves that he's known for having that go against what we would expect a man of his size and stature to be able to do. I mean, this dude's 6'9", I don't know, huge dude. Doesn't look like the most fittest guy, but I mean, he's got some tremendous love handles, some crazy looking back fat. Man, that guy can fight. He can punch, and as we've seen, he can take a beating and get back. He is truly the heavyweight champion right now. I would like to see. I would personally like to see him fight the winner of Usyk versus AJ Part 2, but I feel like Alexander Usyk is probably going to win that fight. That would be the more interesting fight to see Fury versus Usyk. But Fury says he's retiring from boxing. But if you stuck around and watched the post-fight interview, if you follow the beefs on social media, him and Francis Ngannou have been respectfully calling each other out for a little bit of time now in recent months. As you all know, Francis Ngannou was the UFC heavyweight champion, and it sounds like they're going to agree to fight in a hybrid rules fight with the 4-ounce MMA-style gloves, and most presumably with those dirty boxing hybrid rules where the clinching is okay and the different type of unorthodox punches that aren't normally allowed in boxing will be okay. A Superman punch, a back fist, things of that nature, where the clinching is not penalized, it's rewarded. And like my good friend Chris, is a great supporter of mine, great friend of mine, as he pointed out to me, that would be the perfect matchup for the Triller Triad promotion, where I made a video about that. I'll put the link in the description, where they fought in a triangular ring with the 4-ounce gloves. They put on a showcase of MMA versus boxers, and the dirty boxing was allowed. That is exactly what this fight is going to be. So I think before we get Fury versus Usyk, if that ever happens, assuming Usyk wins his rematch and retains his titles, he will put on a mega fight in the same vein of a Mayweather versus McGregor. It will put the two against each other, but the rules will be hybridized to give Francis more of an actual chance, I would say, to implement his strengths more so in a boxing match. He'll have the smaller gloves that he's used to and a bit more of the ability to wrestle and clinch. As you know, Francis Ngannou was a fierce, ferocious puncher, arguably the hardest hitting heavyweight on the planet in any sport. But Tyson Fury is a masterful boxer, and he's no stranger to hard hits. I mean, he fought Deontay Wilder 3 times, and in the course of those 3 fights, survived 4 knockdowns total. If you've seen his fights, especially the third one, that man took some punishment from Wilder, and Wilder is definitely among one of the hardest hitting heavyweights in any sport, in any era. So Fury is up to the challenge as far as his durability, his heart, his wherewithal, and his skill. And of course, Francis Ngannou, he's heavyweight champion of the UFC, but he's not getting the money he deserves. As we all know, the UFC, it does not pay their fighters to the level that the highest paid boxers get paid. So it's almost like, of course, Fury will make millions, tens of millions of dollars off the fight, but he's also doing a solid to Francis Ngannou and bringing him up into the world of boxing promotion, even if it is hybridized rules, where he will get the largest payday of his life, no doubt. So personally, I'm a big fan of both. I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou, and I think that if he were to fight Tyson Fury in a hybridized fight, where the rules favor a boxer because there's no kicking and no wrestling, I feel like Tyson Fury will win that fight, but Ngannou's going to have that puncher's chance, and it will just be a spectacle and a show for everybody to see that you don't want to miss. So within the past 2 weeks, we had Spence defeating Ugas, setting up a mega showdown with Crawford that I'm super looking forward to. That should happen by the end of the year. And we just had Fury beat his mandatory challenger, Dillian Whyte, setting up a supreme mega fight, cross-promotional, hybridized, dirty boxing style fight between himself and Francis Ngannou. Now, if I had to pick, I would go against conventional wisdom. Is it conventional wisdom? And I would say I'm going to pick Spence to beat Crawford. I have no real reason to pick Spence. I just feel like he could beat Crawford. And I feel like Crawford will be the betting favorite for some reason. And in the fight between Fury and Ngannou, with mostly boxing style rules, I'm going to pick Fury because that's his game. But it will be an exciting fight. And he may actually have to pick himself up off the canvas in that fight, because it's going to be hard to shake off any of those bombs should Francis Ngannou be able to land something clean and solid. He's got detonation in his hands, but it'll be a win-win for the audience. It'll be a win-win for both fighters, because even if Ngannou loses that fight, which he probably will, even if he loses it, he could still go back to MMA and be dominant there. And I'm excited. It's really good for pure boxing fans. The Spence versus Crawford fight, it's been like 3 years in the making. And Fury versus Ngannou, I mean, it's just a curiosity, a show, and it'll be a spectacle, and it'll be well worth it. So I'm no expert. You tell me what you think in the comments. I appreciate the support. If you like my videos, give it that thumbs up and just interact with me. Tell me what you think, who you think is going to win and why. And until next time, as always, UNO.